folks, and welcome back to another podcast episode. This is episode 54. We're starting to actually get somewhere with these podcasts, and this one's really special for me. We've just been talking before we started this, and I was mentioning about going full circle, and I started my crypto journey with Connor Kenny, also known as Connor Crypto, and this podcast is really special for me. Connor, thank you so much for joining us. It's insane. We really have gone full circle here, and for someone who's so big in the space, such as yourself, it's amazing to have you here.
No worries, man. I'm happy to chat. Finally, we've been talking for however many years now, so yeah, it's good to let's chalk it up and find out what we got for the crypto community.
It's insane. So currently, you're in Bali, and you're one of these more or less influence that I've always looked to, and I think to myself, you're doing it right. You're doing what you should be doing. You're enjoying it for what it is, and you're never leaving yourself too open to things. You always plan for every scenario that you possibly can plan for.
Exactly, man. We got to stay safe out there, and we got to enjoy life to the fullest.
So, Connor, tell us how it all started for you. How did crypto how did you get involved in everything? How did you get to where you are now?
Oh, you want the long story or the short story?
I want the long story. I want the long story.
All right, man. Well, basically, it all started. I don't know how much your viewers know me. I don't really know how much you know of my background, but I was I'm a qualified stuntman in the UK. That's like my profession, and basically, I used to do acrobatic shows. And backstage, we were all talking about crypto. I don't know if it was just one day or over a certain period of time, but we were all talking about crypto, and we just started to buy it. Now, this was early 2017, so there was a little crew of us, all acrobats, all buying just small crypto here and there. A bit of Bitcoin, bit of Ethereum. My friend told me about Cardano. We were like, just noobs in the space buying some stuff. And back then, I was making a normal salary. And living a pretty normal life. And apart from the fact that I was an acrobat, which is obviously not normal, but the 9-to-5 sort of work, go to work, come home sort of vibes. And that 2017 bull run was insane. So I made a lot of money that I couldn't comprehend, in comparison to what I was making. It was just wild, right? It was a roller coaster. And that would have been late 2017. So as we rolled into early 2018, I'm on top of the world. I think that I'm just like the most clever person who's ever existed on Earth. Can't like Warren Buffett vs me, not a chance.
Connor Buffett.
Yeah, exactly. Call me Connor Buffett. Exactly that. Yeah, I'm like strutting around. I'm like, yeah, you can't touch me.
Literally got the strut as well, where you're an acrobatic, just Conor McGregor round the back.
Exactly. Exactly that. So early 2018 is when everything collapsed to essentially zero. All crypto, everyone. I think it was like the first 2 months I went from all of that money. And the key here is that I had no idea what I was doing. So I didn't sell a penny. All I did was transfer funds because back then you used to trade mainly with Bitcoin. So if you were trading altcoins, you'd trade the Bitcoin pairs, not the USDT pairs. So I was trading between altcoins and Bitcoin, but back and forth. So, if I had a big win, I would then put that into Bitcoin, and then I would transfer it back into a new altcoin. I'd just go back and forth. So by the time 2018 rolled around and everything crashed, I went from my initial investment all the way up to on top of the moon, and then below my initial investment. So I lost more than I put in. everything. Everything that I put in, it went to, not zero, but lower than what I started with. And that was like, I guess, it's not for me, and you have that regret, and, you think about the cars I could have bought and all of this stuff. And then I just, I went back to normal life. And probably the whole of 2018, I kind of was angry more than anything. So I just didn't, I let that take a hold, and I didn't pay attention to the market enough at all, really. Then late 20. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, it's kind of like that. A lot of people do this, don't they? They ignore the red flags. They become like like neglect of what's actually happening.
Exactly. So I just thought the best thing for me to do now is just to ignore it, and I'll just pretend it never happened. So then late 2018, early 2019, I started doing e-commerce. So I started trying to, at the time I'd been an acrobat for around 10 years. So I was like, it's time for me to start building something for myself, right? I'm gonna start building something that I can do, and it can like change like the vibe of what I'm doing, right? I'm not gonna work for someone else anymore. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna build something for myself. I started to make probably about half it, there's ups and downs with e-commerce, so I won't make it sound easy. I definitely lost money, but once I started making about 50% of my salary that I was on, that's when I quit my job. And I was slowly investing at this point. So this would have been early 2019. So this is when I was looking into value investing, Warren Buffett, like we just mentioned earlier, S&P 500, bit of gold, Tesla, the EV stocks, and also crypto, right? So at this point, I was like, right, I've saved X amount of money. I have my safety blanket. I'm going to start just investing the extra money that I don't need. So I was investing into Bitcoin, Tesla, a bit of Ethereum. And then one day I just thought, wait, there was that Cardano that I used to have. And we bought it on the day it launched. We bought it on the ICO or whenever it was launched on Binance, right? That was back in 2017. And I was like, wait, that was a pretty big deal back then. Let me check the price. And the price was, however many percent down, like 99% down from where it was. And I was like, I'm just going to put a sizable chunk into this one because I have a good feeling about it. And then I'll just continue with my Bitcoin, continue with my Ethereum. I think a few other altcoins here and there, but mainly Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. And if I'm forgetting, there might be some other ones. But we then, the 2019 happened. Everyone knows what happened in 2019. The good old Rona Ronason.
Your best friend of all best
ex-
friends.
Exactly. So at that point, that was when I first decided I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to go traveling and we're going to do the e-commerce stuff. And I ended up getting stuck in Australia, which was actually a blessing because, I spent every day building e-commerce and investing and starting the YouTube channel, right? Because I started the YouTube channel talking about side hustles that I was doing. And it just so happens that at the time of all of this was when crypto started to boom, right? So I was talking about making the money and then where I'm putting the money. And yeah, I started to make money. I started to make videos. And the key differentiator that I wanted to make for crypto was the fact that all of these guys hadn't been through, the highs and the lows that I had already been through. So there was guys making videos, essentially me, but back in 2018, talking about these, these cryptos, these altcoins, whatever it was, and not realizing that it crashes. Bitcoin crashes, altcoins crash way more. And I just thought I'm gonna start making videos with my perspective on the market. And yeah, that's when it kind of sort of took off from there. And then any money that I was making in e-commerce, all the while was going straight into crypto. And then yeah, essentially the next bull run was about 6 months from that point, and everything just went pretty much insane. And then using the knowledge from 2018's crash, I managed to sell at least half my portfolio and diversify into other assets. And then now we're just repeating the same thing again. So now I'm just doing exactly the same thing I did in the last bear market, in this bear market. And yeah, that's the story.
You really are the most like average Joe of average Joes that realistically just you walked into it not expecting too much from it, but it's got you to where you are now. I actually find, I know a lot of people don't know about your past and stuff, but I've always found it really amazing where you come from to where you are now, and you have such a respect for the situations that you have been in, and you've always come away from those like in a better space in your mind. You've always walked the path, especially with your community. You're sort of letting people know what's going on in your head. It's
Exactly, man.
getting trapped in Australia. I mean, there could be worse places to get trapped, right?
Yeah, definitely worse places. But I think one of the key takeaways for everything that's happened in sort of, let's call it my entrepreneurial life, right? Because before that was working, but everything that's happened since, I've had certain things happen in my life, and you always got to take them as the lesson, right? And the key, I didn't realize it, but 2018 was the biggest lesson, and the best thing that literally ever happened to me was losing everything. That was hands down the best thing, because if that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have known what to do in the next bull run. So there's always things that come up in life that happen, and you think this is the worst thing in life, and this is the end of it. But if you can take something and learn from that, it can literally change your life. So not to be too preachy, but yeah, try and think of all of these things that happen as lessons in life.
Like, it's a real cynical thing for most people to say, but this whole idea of, you know, buy when things are red, stay away from it when things are green, sort of thing. It really is that simple when you break things down, but ultimately you learn best from mistakes. I've always found that. Like, it's like the best learning curve ever.
Exactly. If you have, like, for example, just looking at crypto, if you have a 10-year time horizon, right? And if we just zoom out for 10 years over crypto, all you would have had to do is not be impatient and buy when like literally the greed and fear index. Like, you know, I talk about the greed and fear index in every single one of my videos. It is as simple as that. If crypto repeats what it's done for the last X amount of time, let's call it 10 years, right? If we have the same thing that happens again, you know, we ebb and flow, we go up, we go down. If you have patience, if you simply buy when that index is in fearful and you just sell when it's in euphoria, like I'm talking prolonged, right? We can spike on the days and stuff where people get excited, but like as a whole, we know when we're in euphoria, right? In 2021, we knew we were in euphoria. We then went back into fear. 2022 at the start, we had euphoria again. It's like, you know very well what's happening. If you just ignore all of the outside noise and you invest into the things that you actually believe in, it's very simple just to buy red and sell green, right? But you have to be long term. You can't do that in a week's time frame or whatever like that. It's not easy. You can make money from trading like that, but that's not the easy side of making money in this space.
Yeah, I've only ever realistically made a decent profit from holding, and it was always from my Lunc bag. That was where the bulk of my profit always came from. I was very
Yeah.
fortunate. I took profits at the top, secured my investments, and sort of went from there. But yeah, this whole people not knowing when to sell. I mean, you are a living relic, Connor, because you've been through a bull run, right? Not a lot of
Yeah.
people stick around after the bull runs. A lot of people
Yeah,
just, they're done. That's it. They go. And you don't really hear those stories too much.
yeah.
Like, what did it feel like, Connor? Can you like explain to people what it feels like when the market's euphoric, everything's booming, everything's running? What is that feeling like?
It's absolutely insane. I mean, I can tell you, like, the one thing that always sticks into my head when I think about it was there was a time when if anyone can be bothered, they can go back on my channel and you can see when I was making early on videos about, I think one of the videos was crypto.com, like just my opinion on crypto.com, because that's what I was using at the time. You know, it was a thorough review of the platform that I was using. And in and around that time, that was when the start of the 2021 bull market, and seeing my portfolio jump by absolutely obscene amounts of money was just, it was the most insane thing you could imagine. Like, you know, you feel like you're walking on clouds. But I mean, at the time I was a little bit jaded, you know, because I knew what happened last time. So you're definitely on edge because you never know when it's going to end. But yeah, it's absolutely insane. And the thing is everyone right now has the opportunity to position themselves. Now, not everyone is going to find the right things. You know, I'm not here to tell you that, for example, Luna Classic is going to be the right thing. It may be, it may not be. But if it is, it will be an obscene return if and when the bull market comes. And everyone has the opportunity now, because the way I see it is there's I don't know pinpoint for sure, but it feels like right now we are in such a similar place to where we were 2018, late 2018, 2019, right? Where nobody cared about crypto. And it might seem like, if you're watching this video, that everyone around you cares, or everything that you pay attention to on the internet cares about crypto. But that's just because we're in an echo chamber. Like, if
Bubble
you go
life.
into the if you go into the real world, no one thinks crypto's going anywhere. Like, you know, it used to be cool for me to say that I was in crypto, and now it's very much not cool, because everyone's like, oh, well, you've lost all your money then, right? So this is the moment. This is the moment. We have to ignore all the noise and position ourselves for if and when the bull market comes. And then you'll get that euphoria.
So, like, quote me if I'm wrong here. Coins like XRP simply didn't move in the last bull run, right?
I think it still did like a 5x or a 6x.
I mean, that's huge. But in comparison to some of the coins that made runs, it was insane. Like, it's nowhere near what some of them made, right?
Yeah, I think one of the key things that I've learned over time is to not expect the 100x, right? Let's position ourselves to get the XRP. Let's put enough money into our portfolio to aim for, let's say, a 5x, right? because that's completely reasonable to expect. Now, probably you'll manage to catch 100x. There's a chance that that happens, right? It happened to me a few times, and there's a chance that you'll have that. But if you have the 100x in your head and that's all you want, you're gonna be completely ungrateful when you have the 5x. Now, a 5x is an incredible return. So if we aim for the 5x and we hope for the 100x and you fall somewhere in the middle, that's the best thing, I would say. That's the best return I could expect.
Expectations, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because, and like, I mean, one of the biggest things that annoys me in the space is Lunar Classic is actually the perfect thing to talk about this on. The 5x we had, right? Back after the huge crash, I think it was a 500% move, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
My brain's going, "Do-do-do-do-do-do-do." Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah, in and around that space. But that was, to me, incredible, right? Because I knew from what was happening, we're back in a bear market, guys. This is it. The market is over. We've just had a catastrophe happen. I lost an obscene amount of money, but
Ooh.
it was money that I,
We'll
yeah,
get
I
onto that later, mate.
yeah.
Ooh.
But yeah, I knew that we were in a bear market, and we just and I was positioning myself in Lunar Classic, and as you know, I started talking about Lunar Classic, and I made the secondary channel because I wanted to focus on it, because I thought at the time I was like, there's something going on here, and I need to, I want to be talking about it, and then I didn't want to bombard the main channel, so I thought, why not start the second channel? And that 5x was what I was looking for. Now, when that 5x happened, I took money out, right? I sold not all of my position, but a big chunk of my position, because I knew we were in a bear market. And to bring it back to my point, the amount of comments where people were completely unhappy with an actual 5x was insane to me. Because a 5x is incredible. If you got 10 grand in something, you get a 5x, that's 50 grand. Do you know what I mean? Like, that you could, I think it went up in like one day. So it's like, I understand people might have $100, they might have $1,000, they might have $10,000, whatever it is. It's still in percentage an incredible return. So it's like being grateful for those moments and then also acting on those moments, because you're not being greedy, right? For example, if you put in $100 and you just got a 5x, the intelligent thing to do in that moment is at very least take the $100 out. That way, you can hold for the next 10 years and it makes no difference. You'll never lose money. So that's kind of how I see it now.
One of this is like the strongest point I find whenever I've watched your content, and being someone who, has come full circle. This is always something I've walked away from at the end of your videos. Take profits where you need to, secure your investments where you must, because then whatever you lose, if you lose it, it's gone, it's done. It doesn't matter. You got it for free anyway.
Exactly. Like Lunar Classic, for example, is the perfect example, because Lunar Classic itself as a investment is high risk. So Lunar Classic sits in one of the highest risk buckets, right? It's not a meme coin, but it's a community hype driven coin, right? So when we see those huge moves, take the opportunity to protect your downside. And for example, with the 5x, taking out like, let's say the initial investment was $100. You now got $500. Taking out $100 won't make any difference if the coin continues to run another, to 100x from the start, right? It doesn't matter. It's only $100. And in taking that $100 out, you create an environment where you're not emotionally attached to your investment, right? Because you no longer can lose money. So you're no longer emotionally attached, which means you can sit for the roller coaster that comes next. And that's how you actually make it to the 100%. And this is what people miss.
Lunar Classic is the craziest roller coaster ride I've ever been on in my whole entire life. Honestly, for all intent and purposes, it is realistically, it is a meme coin as it stands, but that's specifically just because of the way that the development's driven, the way that the development's not driven towards apps, de-apps, use cases and stuff like that. So like you're saying, it's a community driven coin that balances so carefully on like terminology as to what am I, but ultimately, right, it is so high risk. And this is something I've emphasized time and time again to the people who listen to my content, that take profits where you can. The risk of the coin just going like that again, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. The active set gets smaller every update because people just can't keep up with the madness, and it's one of those ones where I'm building and developing because I want to see utility use case and all of these different things happen. And I'm not banking in my head that, oh, we're just going to sit there and it's magically going to do crazy things in a bull run. Because like you're saying, everything's going to run a little bit in the bull run regardless. But what we
Yeah.
want as a community, we want these big runs. And those big runs come from building in these really bad downtimes. And this is like one of the worst bear markets that has been seen, right, Connor, so far.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Literally the worst. I think we're in the longest bear market we've ever seen in crypto.
Yeah, so I was reading something and they were saying with the technicals, it's very close to it being the longest, but possibly that was like 3 weeks ago I read that. So the likelihood is you're 100% right, but that speaks mountains because eventually this has to U-turn. It has to start going back upwards. A lot of us, we've been here, we've watched that happen. And like you're saying, it's all about positioning. And someone like you, Connor, you've clearly been wrecked a few times, right? You've bought into probably multiple different meme
Yeah,
coins
yeah,
and you've been wrecked, right?
Oh, like this. What was the quote? I heard it literally. I'm listening to a podcast today. What was it? The biggest winners lose more than the losers. Is that right? Is that the right way to put it?
I think
Wait,
it is.
yeah, winners lose more than losers. Yeah, yeah, winners lose more than losers. That's exactly it. Because you take more risk, you're going to lose more. But the ones that when you win, they outsize all the losses. So if you shy away from the risk, you're never going to win anything.
That's honestly just that's a very hard hitting term there. It's very hard hitting. It's very true as well. You have to take these risks, right? And it's those
Yeah,
people who are upset with a 5x likely had probably like £100 invested, thinking that a 5x would lead them to millions because people get
yeah.
very easily misconcepted.
Exactly. It's the expectation of life-changing gains because they're taking the exception to the rule and not applying it to what's actually happening. The exception to the rule being, the guy who put in $3 into Pepe and made $1 million, or the guy who put in $10 into Shiba and made $1 million. Whatever the story is, everyone wants that story. But what we have as crypto investors is the opportunity to continually have those opportunities, right? Because I just mentioned two. We also have Lunar Classic. We also had probably 30 to 50 coins in that meme coin season that we had 4 months ago that did 100x, right? So it's just like positioning yourself, paying attention to the market and not being, grumpy. I bet that's the best way to put it. Don't be bloody grumpy if you put $10 or $100 into something and it went to zero. Get over it and move on.
As honestly, it's so obvious with the situation that surrounds things. We get very unhappy investors that come from the niche side of the market. This whole idea of selling the idea that someone invested 10 pounds or 10 bucks right before SHIB done its run. And it's just, we
Exactly.
can't all be that guy or that person, human. I'm digging a hole. Somebody give me a ladder. We can't all be that person, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We can only best position ourselves. Connor,
Like
what?
I've done really well and I'm not that guy. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't make $1 million in shit.
Well,
So it's
like,
like,
you should be
yeah.
like the most saltiest person, I think. Probably, I don't know anybody who got wrecked heavier than you got wrecked. I know someone who come close, but not as bad as you got wrecked in the Luna
Yeah, yeah.
debacle.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're still here. Look at your attitude towards things. And I know people that have lost $100 or $1,000, or they've lost $50 to a scam, and they never come back to crypto.
It's literally all mindset, man. It's exactly like I said. You can there's two things that happen when something shit happens. You know what I mean? You can either go, I wasn't I didn't deserve that. I feel sorry for myself and now I'm just gonna let that change the course of my life. Or you can say, shit happens, you can learn from it, you pick yourself up and keep going.
And you're going to learn so much more from picking yourself up and starting
Yeah,
to get going again. That's how you learn.
but just do like, if anyone's listening to this and they made it this far, congratulations. But anything that happens, like listening to two dudes just bleat on, but anything that happens in life, including investment, including whatever, take it on the chin, and you can either grow from something or you can let it change the course. So just grow from it, and that's the differentiator between, if you put that back into crypto, the people who make it and the people who don't. It's simply just that mindset shift.
Oh my God. You're so, it's so nice when I do a podcast with someone who has no notoriety like you. And you're such a down to earth person, bro. Honestly, you're very down to earth. And it's something we lack, that human connection, because a lot of your, community, they probably have stayed in crypto for the specific fact that you've led them more or less down a path where they can understand things and they don't need to be angry at everything. It's amazing.
Exactly. I do hope I hope that there's a bunch of guys and girls that have done exactly that. They followed that. Like, I don't ever want anyone to follow me in, like, like, let's say Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin. I never want that. Don't do it. Don't do anything that I'm doing. Do it because you believe in something. But it's learning without going through what I went through. You can learn the same lessons. Like, if you listen to me and I lost all of that money, you don't need to if you sell at a 5x. And that's not everything. Do you know what I mean? You're just taking profits. So if I can get anything out of my YouTube channel, it's people who watch me can not lose the money, not go through all of that stress, and still come out at the other end with benefit.
Insane. Connor, let's talk a little bit about Luna. I know it's a touchy subject, but I know you're going to just dive straight into this. Walk us through it. Walk us through pre-Luna crash life, because you had a lot of money in that stable. You used it quite a lot, right?
Pre-Luna.
I
Yeah.
know.
So
I want people to get an image in their heads of what pre-crash life was like, because it didn't get to $116 a coin for Luna. It didn't stick at a stable for UST for nothing, right? There was something there.
exactly. Let me just can you just re-ask that again? I'm just gonna record this bit because I think it's gonna be good.
I got you. I got you. So, Connor, tell us what life was like pre-crash in Luna.
All right. So there's a lot of guys who were invested in both UST, which was the stable coin, which is now USTC, of course, and then you have the Luna, the actual coin. So myself, I didn't invest into Luna itself. I used UST and Anchor Protocol as one of my buckets of where I kept stable coins. So again, because of the crash in 2018, I learned to diversify, right? I'm always like relatively diverse. And in one of my buckets, it's stable coins, right? And within the stable coin bucket, I hold UST at the time, USD, what am I? USDT, yeah, USDT, BUSD, and I think that's it. Those three were the main ones that I was holding. Oh, and USDC. So I had, various diverse stablecoin portfolio, but a large chunk, an outsized chunk I held in UST in Anchor Protocol because of the 18% return, right? And it was my belief that I could get it out quick enough if anything went wrong. So I kind of, this is something that again, leading back to what we were saying, you got to learn from your mistakes, right? So at the time, I had essentially blind trust in Anchor Protocol and Do Kwon, right? Without doing enough research myself. So the only person that I can blame in this scenario for holding too much money in UST is myself. Yes, Do Kwon may or may not have done it on purpose. Yes, it may have been inevitable. Whatever it is, right? If I can do anything from this situation, the only way I'm going to learn from it is if I blame myself and I learn from those mistakes, right? I don't shift the blame to anyone else. I chose to do that. And so I held my money there. I was accumulating the income. I was reinvesting I was compounding the interest, and I did it for over a year. It was great. Like, the money that it was making significant amounts of money. It was great. If I didn't need money in the real world, I kept it in that stablecoin bucket, and some of that bucket went into UST. And then let me try and remember exactly the timeline. So I remember I got a message from my friend. Some of you guys listening may know him, my financial friend on YouTube. And he messaged me and he said, "Bro, are you worried about UST?" And I hadn't even known what was happening because there's a running joke in my community. Whenever I travel, something bad happens. It's happened so many times. And this was the start of that. I was on a plane when the whole thing started. And I think it depegged very slightly when he sent me that message. and I was on the train in London or in England, somewhere in England, going. And I remember checking, and I was like, nah, it's fine. It will bounce back. Then by the time I had got home, it was around 60. I think it was like 69 cents, somewhere in and around that magical number. And I thought, I've just got to wait. I've got to wait this out. And that was when, in and around the time, I don't quote me on exactly when my friend sold, but that's when he was like, I'm getting out. I've still got, 60, 70% of what it was worth. I'm out. And I was like, no, I'm gonna hold on to this. It's gonna come back. And then it did come back. And again, I let my, I guess, greed, my hope that it would bounce back, whatever it was, cloud my judgment, and I didn't get out. And I let it. It went all the way up to, I think, from my memory, maybe 80 or 90 cents UST. Then it crashed again to maybe back to 60. And I remember I was doing a lot. I was like, okay, I need to decide tonight. This is the night where I decide, do I sell it at this price or do I just hold it? I'm going to make a decision. And I did a bunch of research. I actually, for the first time, learned exactly, I knew how it worked, but the intricate, I studied it for hours to figure out. And I was like, do you know what? It's not worth the risk of this actually coming back. It's not worth my risk. I'm going to cut it at, I think it was about a 60% loss. And I tell you, the timing couldn't have been worse. Within me getting up from my desk and sitting on my bed, it had dropped from 60 to 40. Then I was like, oh my God, I have to just wait a second for this to bounce. It then jumped from 40 to 20. And I was like, oh my God. And then it bounced to like 24. I'm paraphrasing exactly what happened, but in and around these numbers, it bounced to 24 cents. And that's when I got out, right? So I got 24 cents to the dollar amount of each one that I had, of every $1 that I had in UST. And then, thank God that that's where I got out, because we know what happened. It went to actually zero. So, I got 24% of what I had out. Could have been 60%, could have been 80%, but at the end of the day, it was another huge lesson. And the lesson from that is never, ever have blind trust in anything that you don't fully understand. So I didn't understand the mechanism of UST and Anchor enough. I knew how it worked. I knew the overview. I knew what Do Kwon said. I knew what, the base level of the white paper said, but I never studied it to the point where I actually understood exactly what was happening. So that's always what I say. Like, if you're going to mess with DeFi, don't mess with anything in DeFi if you don't understand how the mechanism works. So that was the process. And then, yeah, I had lost a big chunk of money then, and I had to take it on the chin and continue making videos every day.
Honestly, and it wasn't the way you're speaking about it now. It wasn't, you've got the best attitude coming out of this that anybody could possibly walk away from this with. You've got your honor, everything's intact. You lost a little bit, you move on, you live, you learn. A lot of people, that doesn't always happen. And just, to hear that from you now and the journey you walked through at that time, because I remember the videos coming up and you doing the last video saying, this is it. This is the last bit of thought it gets in my mind at this point. I'm out. Exactly. I got out and I got lucky. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's insane. The biggest issue, like you're saying, with DeFi is, and this is something that's a current running issue in LUNC at the moment, is not seeing the full picture. Like, you knew about Anchor, you knew about the protocol, you knew how it works, you knew you could get 18% returns, but what you didn't know was that even sustainable? Could the system afford to continue doing that without collapsing in on itself, right?
Exactly. So the main point of not understanding is, I understood the mechanism, right? What I didn't understand was how quickly the mechanism could fall apart. So I knew, like I mentioned earlier, I knew that there was a risk, right? But I also had done many tests back and forth to time essentially how long it took me to get the UST out and sell it, right? And you could do it very, very quickly. It was no issue there. So my mistake was believing that I could physically get the money out and sell it in the time before it crashed. And now, if I had have not been so nonchalant about the money or something like that, yes, I could have had the time. But it was the lack of the fundamental urgency of it, of how quickly it could unravel, was the bit that I didn't understand, and the bit that I now understand. So anyone who has at least listened to this podcast or seen what happened, or in fact lived it, you guys now know that, let's say, any DeFi thing or anything in crypto that you decide to do, you put your money somewhere or whatever it is, anything that you decide to do, know that there is a chance that you don't have time to get it out. So you have to know that, understand that going in, right? So that's the lesson that you have to learn. And that's why, to bring it all into something coherent here, that's why it's a simple rule. Just do not invest into crypto money that you cannot afford to lose. And it really is as simple as that. Now, I know people want to put 50%, 60%, 100% of their money in, and they want to get that 100x. But if you do that, you are emotionally attached to your bags, and most likely you will not stay around for those 100x's. So, yeah.
And we all want to be around for the 100x's. We want happy investors. We want investors who at least will go. And like you were saying, it's not that we want anybody to ever act on one of our videos and go make any decisions from it. What we hope is that you found some information and then you go and you look into that a bit deeper yourself and you start to understand better. Because like Connor's saying, if you don't understand it, how can you understand where the red flags are, what's an issue, what's not an issue? And honestly, Connor, you've got the best attitude for someone of your standard. A lot of people who get to where you've got to, they end up with a very condescending attitude of, I never do anything wrong, and never actually acknowledging that they made a boo-boo. And
yeah, dude, totally. This is it, man. Like, I do not know, for all intensive purposes, what I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know from my experience, I know what can and can't happen, but I don't know what's happening next. I'm a normal dude who's going, let's bring it back to Lunar Classic again. I'm just a normal guy looking at Lunar Classic, looking at the fact that we're still at a $300 million market cap, looking at how strong the community is, one of the strongest communities in the space, right? Probably second only to stuff like XRP, maybe Casper, the community I'm talking about, right? So we've got a huge community here. It's strong. There's people who are interested in it. This is all of the traits that you want to look for in something that the world has forgotten about, right? With that said, bit of my money goes into it. Let me leave it. I think that there's an opportunity for it to pump, but I don't know for sure, right? So that's sort of my mantra.
you've prepared for both aspects, like you've always said. You've prepared for it. You're sitting on it, and you're playing that out, and you understand that this is not going to be something that's going to happen within days, weeks, months. It could happen tomorrow. Who knows, right? Who knows? But
exactly.
what we do know is you have to build, you have to deploy, you have to develop, and you have to usher in new things and actual utility use cases. You can't just do these things and hope for the best a lot of the time. But Lunar Classic is going through probably one of the biggest teething stages it will ever go through. And I think SHIB went through this for a long stage of every sort of like pulling in different directions, but everybody having like a rubber band attached to them. You will get thrown back to the center ball, which is SHIB, which you're all invested in. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Connor, talk to us about, what for you are you looking at mostly for the next bull run?
So cryptos that I'm looking at, or just in general?
Yeah, cryptos in general. I know you're big on your stocks as well.
Yeah, so in the next bull run, the cryptos that I am focusing on, I'll be wholeheartedly honest. Bitcoin is the biggest position in my portfolio. It will stay the biggest position in my portfolio, and I will unwaveringly invest into Bitcoin if it falls from where we are right now, right? So what I say to anyone that I meet in the street who wants to talk to me about crypto, and what I say on my channel, is just buy Bitcoin, right? That, like, this is the choice that you have to make. You can be a guy who sits and he looks at the charts every single day, and you learn and you do everything right, and you have to be the guy who's there 24 hours a day if you're going to make the money. Now, if you just want to have exposure to crypto, Bitcoin in my mind is like the S&P 500, right? If crypto goes up, Bitcoin goes up. If crypto goes down, Bitcoin goes down, right? You see the analogy. So at very base level, Bitcoin is what I'm looking at. Ethereum second to that. And then from there, we have altcoins. essentially the bigger players in the altcoin space. And then we have the smaller guys like Luna Classic, which are small positions in my portfolio now, but I understand how big these can get over time. You know, I've had these insane outsized gains before, so I'm not worried about having small amounts of money in these smaller cap coins because I know the size that they can get. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking at it, positioning myself, researching every day, finding different and new investments where I can put small chunks of money, and then larger chunks of money I just put into Bitcoin, and then slightly smaller than that Ethereum. And that's the gist of it.
With the next bull run comes a next run of retail, old retail, current retail, and new retail wholly. Do you think this bull run's going to be any different from the last one? Do you reckon it's going to stick a bit better this time? Do you think a lot more, because the last bull run didn't have PayPal's USD coin and stuff like that involved in it? It feels to me there's a lot more involved in crypto now. We all know the BlackRock conspiracies. We know all of the different sort of conspiracy theories. If we put our tinfoil hats on, of who's really buying up all the Bitcoins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's your thought on the retail side of things, Connor?
As in, what do you mean directly with retail?
Well, like, for example, XRP is going to eventually replace the Swift system, right? That's a no-brainer. From the start to beginning, that's the aim with that, more or less, is to become the replacing currency that replaces a system that was built in the 1960s for all intent and purposes. Like, what else do you believe could come in this next bull run? I think for myself, I've been watching Japan quite heavily, and then what PayPal's doing quite heavily, because they're quite interweaved with Japan as well. Japan are opening up their doors. They've got all of the NFT licensing almost ready. And this is a reason why you don't actually see Pokemon, which is Nintendo, actually doing anything in crypto. There's no NFTs or anything really coming forward from them. And my thesis is it's all going to come through in the next bull run.
Well, yeah, I mean, Pokemon with an NFT, oh, that would be literally the best. If you could buy, oh, that would be awesome. I mean, talking about video games first, I got my fingers crossed that GTA 6 incorporates a currency. That would be the best thing that could ever happen. And then it's a massively multiplayer online game that has some sort of crypto, whether it's Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, their own coin, whatever. I think that would be absolutely incredible. I'll be honest, without being too specific about different things, like we can discuss the XRP idea and that sort of stuff. With XRP, I am in two minds whether or not XRP and Ripple will be the one, or the government essentially copy the system. I know there's a lot of XRP people who would get angry at me saying that, but I'm a realist when it comes to these things, and the most obvious thing is in my mind, not the most likely thing to happen. Does that make sense? Like, it's obvious that you would just use Ripple's technology. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Okay, so if it's obvious, then a lot of people will get rich from it. So maybe there's something else there. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. That's kind of how I see it. And then again, XRP is exactly the same. If that happens, XRP and Ripple, if Ripple IPOs and all of that stuff, and XRP, the token, you're going to make a ton of money. But am I putting all of my money in XRP only? No, I'm going to have a diversified portfolio, right? But to bring it back to your question, the way I see it is, I think that this time is going to be exactly the same as every other time, and people are going to think it's completely different, just like they think everything is different, but it's all just the same, with different numbers, different players, different numbers. So, the first, back in the day, the first bull runs, then 2017's bull run, last bull run, this bull run that's coming, and the bear markets, they're all essentially the same. Do you know what I mean? There's all some sort of mass adoption that happens. Everyone gets crazy excited about it. Everyone, a certain percentage of people make a ton of money. Then more retail investors come in, and then, the institutions are in. And then this time is different because we have a Bitcoin ETF. Last time was different for X, X, whatever the reason was. Last time was different because of that. Because there were things that happened in 2017 that were very similar. Do you know what I mean? So in a higher arching view on the market, I think that we're going to go into another bull run. I think that there's going to be, probably 3 times. If we do the same multiple that we did last time, for example, there'll be 3 times the price of Bitcoin will go 3 times higher. The overall market cap will go 3 times higher. And everyone will think they're a genius again, and then the market will turn again and destroy 99% of investors. So that's what I think will happen. Irrespective of the new opportunities, I think that Bitcoin and crypto will follow the same cycles, right? Bitcoin may become less and less volatile, and it might not crash anywhere near as much as it did this time, just like we saw last time, that sort of stuff. But I do think crypto as a whole will follow the same cycle trajectory, up and down, up and down, up and down, even with institutional investors.
So is this going to be your second bull run, right?
This will be my third bull run.
Whoa! Yeah. This is my first. I've never seen a bull run. I mean, I came into crypto because of you specifically, and I've been around since the end of the last bull run, just after, and everything started coming down and crashing, and I was one of the last people to probably find out about it. And I mean, I've been wrecked before I became who I am now. Before I was doing all of this, I was just an everyday investor, an average Joe. But I've made so many stupid mistakes. Like, I think I put like £1,000 down on SHIB, £1,000 on Doge, £1,000 on Bitcoin. Like, yes, I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. And then went to sleep, woke up, and I think it had all gone down by X amount. And I was like, oh, what, and I took all my money out. Didn't understand it, but
exactly.
I'm very excited for this next bull run. I really am.
Yeah, and it's gonna come. We just need to be patient. And to use your example, right? If Dogecoin, Luna Classic, SHIB, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, whatever it is, if you are unwavering in your belief in any of those things or all of the above, you have $1,000 to invest. Don't put $1,000 today into XRP, because what are you going to do next month when it goes down? The best way to maneuver this bear market is not trying to time the fact that maybe now is the bottom. Maybe because Bitcoin has bounced at like 25K, we're going to go up. Maybe we will, but maybe we won't. So the best thing, in my opinion, and what I do, is I research, I find the you see how unwaveringly I'm convicted that Bitcoin will go up, right? I believe it's going to be over 100K. I believe that it's going to be around. That's my conviction. I believe it. Now my conviction in Ethereum is a little bit wavering. It's my second largest position, but it's my second largest because I don't like the fees. I don't like how slow it gets. There's issues, right? Whereas Bitcoin, I'm like, I see the value here. So I'm completely content. If Bitcoin tomorrow dropped to 15K, I will be buying it, and I will be excited about buying it. So my point is, don't go all in at once. For example, your example with Dogecoin, you put the money in, it went down, you sold it. That's a normal thing to do. That's exactly what I did. But what we want to do is, let's replace Doge with any coin or anything, right? You buy it. If it goes down, you need to change your mindset and believe that that is an opportunity, not something bad that's happened, but an opportunity, right? Because you believe that in the next bull run, it's going to go to X amount, or it's going to go up, right? So you get to actually buy double your position, for example, if it goes down 50% with the same amount of money. That's the key here. So yeah.
The whole idea of keeping dry powder, not going all in, is definitely something I 100% learned from you, is to never go all in. Dollar cost average. Pick something you want to get involved in and buy it when it goes low. Don't sell it. Just keep DCAing down into it, but always keep dry powder, because you just don't know when a good buying opportunity is going to come up.
Exactly. And money that you can sustain putting in. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you can sustain 50 quid a month, then sustain 50 quid a month. Don't put in 500 quid at the start of the month and then have nothing left. Sustain, if your salary is $1,000 and 50 quid is what you want to put in, do that, and do it consistently and keep doing it, because the people who do that are the ones that normally make the money. And they might not make the 100x's or the 2 bajillion x's that we saw on SHIB and Pepe and all of that, but they make significant amounts of money, right? And they don't need to spend their whole lives researching every single day what's going on.
Yeah, in and outs. It's always very, very important. So, Connor, coming into the end of the hour of this podcast, what are some sort of like closing thoughts for your community, and what's really going on for you at the moment? What's your heading?
I believe wholeheartedly that we are going into the next bull run. That's what I think will happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. I think it's most likely that we follow the same trajectory as we always do, but it's slightly different. So expect it to be volatile, expect it to be different than last time, but relatively the same if you zoom out, right? That's what I'm expecting. And I will say that I do expect there to be another Black Swan event or something that fuds this market in a big sense, right? Don't know what that is. Maybe it's Binance, maybe it's USDT, maybe it's something, right? I have no idea what it's gonna.
When are you traveling again?
Yeah, exactly. I'll be flying in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, all right, folks. We'll keep an eye on the dates in 2 weeks. There might be a Black Swan event whilst he's in the air.
Yeah, and it will be perfect if it happens because we now have documented proof. But yeah, expect the Black Swan. Dollar cost average, like I've spoken about, obviously into the things that you believe in, not the things that I believe in, but dollar cost average like that, expect there to be an event. When that event happens, if it happens, use it as an opportunity. Don't use it as an opportunity to leave, to say, oh, the guy who told me that Bitcoin was going to zero was correct, all of that stuff. Use it as the opportunity that it is and make the best. The best trade I ever made in my whole life was a sequence of trades, right? I bought Bitcoin at 10K for the first time, sitting at 10K early 2019, I think, right? 10K. Then we had the Ronason crash, right? It crashed to 3.5K. And on that day, I looked at my portfolio. I wanted to cry, but instead of crying, I just thought I've already made this conviction. So I bought even more Bitcoin on that day. So because of that, it was the best trade ever, right? We know what happened. Fucking 3.5K to 70K, 69K. So it's taking those opportunities that we have and rolling with the punches.
This has been absolutely amazing, Connor. I can only hope that as the years go on, I maintain the same head that you've got after that many years of experience. Folks, you've heard the story, from Connor's genesis to where he is now. And it's just amazing that you were just this, well, we could call you an average Joe, but I don't think a stuntman's very average. I think that's bit more than average, but you're just an average guy who got involved in crypto, and you're just walking your journey and you're doing it happily, even though you got wrecked by an insane amount multiple times. You're still here and you're still pushing forward. Connor, thank you so much for joining. For anyone that's here because of Connor listening to any of this, all of the links for everything in his description. Same for my community. All of the links to Connor's stuff is going to be in the description. Anything you need that was in relation to what we've spoken about here, I'll try get it in the description. Other than that, folks, from me, from Connor, stay safe, stay humble, stay aware, and we will catch you in the next podcast, folks. Take care.